I have on the phone right now from RT. It's Lee Camp. You've been doing some great work on the fraud that's been happening in the Democratic primary. First of all, Lee, how are you?
I'm good, man. Good work on all you've been doing. I've been really impressed. You've been doing great stuff.
Thank you very much, Lee. You are correct. I've been doing some stellar work over here. And so you know what? People have been getting on me. People have been telling me all the great work you're doing on this topic. And they keep telling me, why don't you cover it more? And my whole thing is, it's depressing to me, right? Because I lived through Al Gore. And the Democrats won't fight. And if what I keep telling people is, as soon as Bernie says something, I'll be on it. But until he does, I won't say anything. So tell me what you have found, if you can briefly say what you've found.
Oh, God, I don't know if I can be brief about it, but, I started getting involved with this when I saw various people talking about it, and then I looked into it more, and I'm trusting certain academics that I feel have done a lot of great research on this, and that's the conclusion they're coming to, and different people have come to, have pointed out different areas of this, but like Greg Palast, who's done amazing work, New York Times bestseller, he points out how extensive the voter suppression has been. Richard Charnin, who has 2 advanced degrees in applied mathematics, points out how far off the exit polls have been in many states. And Bob Pevrakis and others have pointed out the election fraud that's gone on in various states, and I could go into each individual state. It's like New York, you have over 100,000 knocked off the rolls in Brooklyn alone. And by the way, all of those have been reinstated, meaning they were illegitimate and they were knocked off for no reason. So they've now been reinstated, but that means those were 100,000 people, or a lot of them, who would have voted for Bernie Sanders or did vote for Bernie Sanders, that are not now counted. You have all the chaos going on in California. And so it's a lot of things. Stanford study that I cover on Redacted Tonight this coming Friday that shows that Hillary did phenomenally much better in the primaries, that there is no proof of a paper trail. Like, you can't prove who voted for who. She does a lot better. So the easier places to have fraud, she does better. And they calculate it for other variables and stuff like that. And that Stanford study shows that Hillary's doing better where fraud is more prevalent. So it's just one thing after another that's kind of adding up.
So I saw Ari Melber's article today where he tried to debunk everything. Did you see that?
I haven't seen it, although I think someone tweeted it at me, and it has something to do with Joshua Holland, who went after me and others in the nation. And I and Richard Charnin and others debunked most of what Joshua Holland said. And Joshua Holland's research was really kind of sad. I mean, I felt like I had a higher standard of the nation because, he tried to say that Edison research, doesn't think exit polls mean anything and they're all meaningless. And it was like his research was kind of laughable. He wasn't even able to spell the man's name correctly, who he talked to at Edison Research. So I haven't seen the Ari Melber thing, but I dealt with Joshua Holland a couple months back.
So basically what I've noticed is that even here in California, so the polls had them neck and neck, and some of them had Bernie up. And then when the vote happens, it's she's up 10 points, 12 points. So that's what we're talking about. The exit polling is not matching up. Why is the exit polling seem to be matching up with the Republicans, but it doesn't seem to be matching up with the Democrats? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's because there is kind of an establishment election fraud going on, and that doesn't mean that Hillary's pulling the levers. It just means that the establishment is pushing for the establishment candidate. And in the leaked documents that just came out yesterday or whatever, they show that the DNC was already planning for a Hillary Clinton, run at the beginning of her running. Even a month after Bernie had announced, they were still thinking it would be Hillary because that's who the establishment wanted. So, in California, I don't know whether there was computer election fraud going on, but what went on in California, which Greg Palast reported on, is this kind of excess, an incredibly large amount of provisional ballots given out for anything that was questioned at all. You aren't, your party affiliation is not correct. You're an NPV voter. Here's your provisional ballot. But provisional ballots, in some counties, they're counted well. In most counties, they're not counted well. So they're placebo ballots. They're basically meant to get you to go away and go home. And the biggest thing is that NPP voters who showed up in California and said, I want to vote, were told they couldn't vote for president unless they said the secret code phrase, I want a crossover ballot. That literally you had to say those words or you were given a fake ballot, a provisional ballot to vote. So I think that's why you see tons of people coming out for Bernie Sanders, and then he gets crushed in California. Although California is still voting, so we won't know the results of California for another month.
Yeah, they're still counting those votes. So it didn't make sense to me. The California thing is what really got me going crazy because of the pre-polling, and they decided to not do exit polling in California, correct? Is that correct, Lee?
Yeah, the only place doing exit polling, which was hired by the mainstream media, is Edison Research. And they did it through many states. And then, I and several others started pointing out the difference in the exit polls. The guy who did the mathematics behind it, which is not my forte, is Richard Charnin and others. And we were pointing out the difference in the exit polls between that and the electronic machines, the voting machines. And then all of a sudden, the mainstream media basically stopped funding Edison Research. They said, we don't need you for California and New Jersey and the others. And so there were no exit polls done other than citizen exit polls for California and New Jersey.
So
it feels a lot like the mainstream media realized there was a problem with the exit polls, so they stopped funding them.
That's certainly what it looked like to me. And and here's my thing. So I can immediately get pissed off about this immediately, right? And I can get upset about it. It'll keep me up at night, and I'll have a heavy head. Here's the thing. I feel like, what do you think's going to happen here, Lee? Because what do you think the end game is? Because I think if Bernie Sanders doesn't scream about this, it's not really going to get pushed forward, or someone in power. So we need like an attorney general or a governor or a mayor. You need somebody who has power, or an election official, or somebody that has power to do something. And this doesn't seem, and it's easy to marginalize people like me and you when we bring these points up as, half the Democratic Party is going to marginalize us. Right. So where do you think this is? Do you think anything will come from this?
I mean, to me, it really feels like people are waking up. They're waking up to both the manipulation of the mainstream media, not talking about Bernie Sanders, and they're waking up to the fact that the elections are not being calculated correctly, whether it's suppression or actual, computer voter fraud and election fraud. But I do agree that it'd be great if Bernie says something. I think that would really light a fire under this thing. But I don't think that needs to be the only way this becomes a huge issue, because until we deal with this, we are never going to have a fair election. If we let this go, and even if Hillary wins, we're still dealing with a system that is phenomenally corrupt, and we're not getting our real elections. And I don't give a crap who wins. It's like we should want the legitimate result. We should want what people voted for to be clear. And so it's like whether Bernie says something, and I don't know that he will, because I think that he is willing to start a revolution, but he's not willing to set fire to the Democratic Party. I think that whether he says something or not, people have to stand up about this, and it doesn't matter whether if it hurts Hillary, I'm sorry, then deal with it, people, but it might hurt Hillary, but whatever. We need legitimate elections. That's what this country's based on.
I'm with you 100%. It's just mind-boggling to see Democrats be okay with putting impediments in front of voters, in front of citizens' ability to vote. It's just crazy. Closed primaries make no sense to me. All that stuff sounds nuts to me. And I'm with you. I'm with you 100% on this, Lee. You're doing great work. Thanks for taking time out to talk to the people on our show today. And we'd like to do a longer interview, of course. And hopefully we could set that up in the future. I know I'm a stoner, so it's kind of hard for me to do that. But I appreciate you being making yourself available to our show tonight on such short notice. Thanks so much, Lee.
Absolutely, Jimmy, and I want to have you on Redacted Tonight soon.
Would love to. Okay, brother, take care and go back to drinking.
All right, man. Later.
All right, bye. That was Lee Camp, ladies and gentlemen, taking time out for the Jimmy Dore Show. A nice gentleman. Nice gentleman. Okay, so there you have it. Right from Lee Camp's The Horse's Mouth. The exit poll, I mean, it's just heartbreaking to me. That's why, because I lived through Al Gore, and Al Gore wouldn't even stand up, and the Democrats wouldn't even stand up, and it got stolen from us right in broad daylight. It got stolen, and the media just went along with it. And so it's just, and I just feel, so it's just heartbreaking for me, and it takes too much out of me emotionally to get worked up about it. But I understand that the people who watch this show want to know about it, so that's why I brought on Lee Camp to tell you about it, and I hope you know more about it, and maybe we'll do more stories on it. But it is heartbreaking and depressing. Don't freak out.